We all think we know probiotics, right? They're the good bacteria that are supposed to help our gut. But what if I told you there's a potential hidden link between them and one of the biggest threats we face in modern medicine? Superbugs. Yeah. Today, we're digging into that surprising and really important connection. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so first things first, let's just get on the same page. The classic definition of a probiotic is pretty straightforward. They are live microorganisms that, when you get enough of them, give you some kind of health benefit. You find them in yogurt, supplements, the usual suspects. They are our gut's little helpers. Simple, right?
But this is where the story takes a sharp turn. What if those very same good guys were, without us even knowing, carrying around the genetic blueprints for antibiotic resistance? And what if they could just hand those blueprints over to the actual bad guys, the pathogens we're trying to fight? That is the huge question we are going to unpack. So, to really wrap our heads around this, you have to understand a key concept. Not all antibiotic resistance is the same. There are two totally different types, and knowing the difference between them, well, it's absolutely everything.
All right, let's break it down. On one side, you have intrinsic resistance. Think of this like a built-in feature of the bacteria. It's always been there, it's predictable, it's stable, and honestly, it's not really a safety issue. But then, you've got acquired resistance, and this is the one we really need to pay attention to. This is when a bacterium learns a new trick from another bacterium. It's unpredictable, and, this is the kicker, it's often mobile.
And that's the whole point, really. A probiotic being resistant to an antibiotic, that's not the actual problem. The real danger is when that resistance gene is on a mobile piece of DNA. Think of it like a little file that can be copied and pasted from one bacterium to another. So a harmless probiotic could literally just hand over its resistance plants to a dangerous pathogen, and that's how a superbug gets even stronger. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does the evidence actually show in the real world? Let's open up the case files and take a look at some of the most common probiotics you see on the shelf.
We're going to focus on the big three, the names you've probably seen a million times on labels: Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and Bacillus. I mean, these are the rock stars of the probiotic world, so let's put them under the microscope and see what's really going on.
All right, let's kick things off with the A-lister, Lactobacillus. This one has a squeaky clean reputation. It's even got the official stamp of approval, generally recognized as safe or GRAS. But you guessed it, even here things get a little complicated. And this chart really shows you what I'm talking about. Look, studies have found lactobacillus with resistance genes like TET-M and ERM-B. But the crucial part is that location column. See that? Plasmids, transposons, those are the mobile bits of DNA we were just talking about, which means these genes are transferable. Now compare that to something like VAN-X. It's on the chromosome, which means it's locked in place, it's non-transferable. See the difference? That's the whole game right there. And look, we're not just picking on lactobacillus here. The same story pops up with our other players. Scientists have found resistance genes in some bifidobacterium strains. And certain probiotic bacillus strains? Yep, they've been found to harbor resistance to some really important antibiotics. So this is definitely a wider issue we need to think about in the probiotic world. Okay, now we're going to get into a really interesting and frankly pretty controversial case. Let's talk about the genus Enterococcus. So this bacterium is a bit of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. On one hand, some strains are genuinely beneficial probiotics that get used in supplements. But on the other hand, the Enterococcus family is also infamous for being a really tough, opportunistic pathogen, one that's known for having a ton of antibiotic resistance. So you can see why using it as a probiotic is a hot topic for debate. It means you have to be so careful and check every single strain for safety. Okay, so we've laid out the potential risks. That probably has you wondering, who's minding the store? Who's actually making sure the probiotics we take are safe? Well, let's talk about the gatekeepers and the systems they have in place. A major player here is the European Food Safety Authority. You'll see it called EFSA. They're one of the big global watchdogs, and they have created a really robust system to check the safety of any microbe, probiotics included, that we intentionally add to our food chain. The whole philosophy they use is called the Qualified Presumption of Safety, or QPS. And the main goal, the big idea behind it all, is super simple and really powerful. Whatever we're adding to our food should not be adding to the pool of transferable antibiotic resistance genes in our gut. Basically, first, do no harm. And here's how they actually put that into practice. It's a pretty logical four-step process. First, they test the bacteria against a whole panel of different antibiotics. If anything flags as resistant, they investigate it further. They need to figure out the why. Is this resistance built in and harmless, or is it the acquired kind that can be shared? And that leads to the final call. If it has acquired transferable resistance genes, it's a no-go. It's generally not getting approved.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, so what's the bottom line from all of this? Let's do a quick gut check on the main takeaways.
This quote from the research really says it all, doesn't it? The sheer number of microbes in our food is a huge reservoir for these resistance genes. When you think about it like that, you realize that careful screening isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute necessity. So, to boil it all down for you, what does this all mean? Number one, probiotics are great, they have real benefits, but we have to be aware of the potential risks. Number two, the thing to remember is that the real danger isn't resistance itself, it's the acquired, transferable kind. And number three, that's exactly why the work of these regulatory groups doing all that intense screening is just so incredibly critical for all of us.
Look, the goal here is not to make you scared of your yogurt. Not at all. It's really about appreciating all the complex science that goes on behind the scenes to keep our food safe. But it does leave us with a pretty big question, right? As superbugs get stronger and more common, is what we're doing now, is it enough? It's something to think about because this is where your personal gut health really connects with a massive global health challenge.